I'm Laura Ingraham. This is the Ingraham Angle from Washington tonight. I hope everyone had an amazing Thanksgiving. We all know that Hunter Biden did. The Gone Father. That's the focus of tonight's angle. Now, Francis Ford Coppola's The Godfather 1 and 2 are generally considered among the best films ever made. They chronicled the Corleone family, the battle among the mafia clans, and the politicians and the police who gave them cover.
We're all grateful to Don Corleone for calling this meeting. We all know him as a man of his word. A modest man. He'll always listen to reason.
Yes, Don Barzini. He's too modest. He had all the judges and politicians in his pocket.
The struggles of a wayward son.
Send Fredo off to do this, send Fredo off to do that. Let Fredo take care of some Mickey Mouse nightclub. It ain't the way I wanted it. I can handle things. I'm smart. Not like everybody says. Like dumb, I'm smart, and I want respect.
Does that sound familiar? But given what we've learned over the years about the long-term corruption and deception of the Biden family, the Corleones have nothing on them. Exactly no one on earth with a functioning brain should have been surprised by Joe Biden's Thanksgiving pardon for his son Hunter.
He basically gives him 10 years. Anything you did illegal in this decade, forgiven. In January 2014 through December 2024, which is interesting because I think that's when Hunter Biden got involved with Ukrainian energy interests, Burisma, and the like.
Very interesting. But wait, the naive among us say, that's not what Joe, the protector of norms and democracy, told us.
Will you accept the jury's outcome, their verdict, no matter what it is?
Yes.
And have you ruled out a pardon for your son?
Yes. I'm extremely proud of my son, Hunter. I'm not going to do anything. I said I abide by the jury decision, and I will do that, and I will not pardon him.
He had like every digit, behind his back. Now, the key thing here is everyone knew that Biden was lying. Yet because they knew it would hurt Biden politically and then help Trump, the entire political media establishment pretended otherwise.
He is not pardoning his son because he is living what it means to have a rule of law in this country.
A presidential promise to put the law before a family, letting the world know that he will not wipe away the decision of 12 of his son's peers.
Our current president of the United States has so much respect for the law that he has said he would not pardon his son.
They were all enablers, and everyone here is exposed. Biden, the media, Democrat staffers.
This decision by the president to, over the course of many months, insist publicly that he was not going to do this. Everyone that I have spoken to so far, and that includes senior-most former White House and administration officials, never believed the president when he said he wasn't going to pardon his son. They said this: anyone who was even close to the top knew that he was probably going to do this. Why did we pretend otherwise?
Of course we know why they pretended otherwise. Come on. They never believed Biden had clean hands here, that he was some paragon of constitutional or any other type of virtue. And they never thought Trump was a threat to democracy. But they railed against Trump's claims that the DOJ was politicized. They called all that highly damaging to the DOJ's independence, an unfair attack on the institution that keeps us safe. And now?
Does the president believe now and agree with President-elect Trump that the justice system has been weaponized for political purposes and that it needs root and branch reform?
No, read the president's statement. Seriously, read the president's statement. He said he believes in the Department of Justice. He does. He says it in his statement. He believes. He also believes that raw politics infected the process and it led to a miscarriage of justice. He believes his son was unfairly targeted.
Well, she should have submitted her resignation letter today. And she would have, I think, if she believed what they told her to say months ago, that Biden would not pardon Hunter. But look, if you were in on this from the beginning, you just keep the lie going, and then you try to have it both ways.
The president does believe in the justice system and the Department of Justice. And he also believes that his son was singled out politically. And this is what we saw over and over and over again over the last couple of years.
Years? Then why earlier this year did he say he would not pardon Hunter?
One of the reasons the president did the pardon is because they didn't seem like his political opponents would let go of it. It didn't seem like they would move on. And so this is why this president took this action.
Okay, as usual, it's Trump's fault. His political opponents wouldn't move on. Again, why is anyone surprised by this? Now, she and the rest of the White House senior staff covered up Biden's cognitive decline for years, after all. They lied that Joe was at the top of his game, he had boundless energy, so of course they would go along with the pardon lie. And these people talk about Trump's big lie. The Biden family crime syndicate and all of their unindicted co-conspirators, it was all built on a lie. This family got rich by selling access, or at least the appearance of access. Any suggestion to the contrary, well, that was just a right-wing conspiracy.
I don't know what he was doing. I never discussed a single thing with my son about anything having to do with Ukraine. I've never spoken to my son about his overseas business dealings. I have never discussed with my son or my brother or anyone else anything having to do with their businesses, period.
All lies. And the only international business experience that Hunter was an expert in involved harlots and cocaine. Now, with this pardon declared, in early December 2024, we all know what the Bidens and their collaborators did. They sold the ongoing family lies, and they looked the other way on all of the corruption. To them, it was worth risking their own reputations, their own credibility. And frankly, the credibility of the institutions they supposedly revere so much. It was worth it to them in order to protect Biden and keep Donald Trump out of the White House. Thank God they failed. But we must never forget what they did and never let these sorts of people close to the White House again.
We told you Biden family Thanksgivings are legendary, and Nantucket was no different this year. We thought Frankie Four Fingers would lose another finger, but instead, the big guy gave Hunter an early Christmas gift, a pardon over turkey dinner. Quote, no reasonable person who looks at the facts of Hunter's cases could reach any other conclusion than Hunter was singled out only because he is my son. And that is wrong. I hope Americans will understand why a father and a president would come to this decision. We were still picking at Thanksgiving leftovers when Joe pardoned his son and hopped on a plane to Africa. He went to Angola, 7,000 miles away. Oh, and he left his wife home to face the music.
Dr. Biden. Dr. Biden, what changed on the pardon for Hunter?
Biden's even leaking to CNN. He wasn't really sure if he was going to pardon Hunter, but his wife made him do it. You know women.
Clearly, there was pressure inside the family. We were told really in recent weeks that Dr. Jill Biden, First Lady Jill Biden, was very supportive of the president doing something like this. The president was not sure. But we clearly have seen now he has come to this decision to pardon his son Hunter.
Biden pardons his son at his donor's Nantucket home, throws his wife under the bus, jets off to Africa, and makes a fool out of Binder. Because this poor lady said 1,000 times a pardon was off the table.
We've also said several times that the president would not pardon or commute sentences for his son, Hunter. I just want to make sure that that is not going to change over the next 6 months. The president's saying he will not.
It's still a no. It's still a no.
And will always be a no.
It's still a no. It will be a no. It is a no. And I don't have anything else to add. Will he pardon his son? No.
I guess no means yes.
Believe now and agree with President-elect Trump that the justice system has been weaponized for political purposes and that it needs root and branch reform.
No, read the president's statement. Seriously, read the president's statement. He said he believes in the Department of Justice. He does. He also believes that war politics infected the process and it led to a miscarriage of justice. He believes his son was unfairly targeted. He said that what his political opponents have done to my son, that's his words, is cruel and enough is enough.
So Biden is saying the Biden Justice Department was weaponized against Hunter, but not against Trump. The same Justice Department. Got it. It's fitting that Biden's presidency started with a cover-up and ended with one. The laptop, the lab leak, his health, the coup, and then a blanket pardon that historians are saying is bigger in scope than Richard Nixon's. Biden went from my son did nothing wrong to here's a pardon that goes back a decade. 42-year sentence for tax and gun felonies. It's the crack's fault. Biden went from I never talked business with my son to, yeah, I had spaghetti dinners with his Ukrainian clients, but we just talked about the weather. I didn't think it was possible for Biden to humiliate the Democrats any more than he already has. We all knew his son was going to get pardoned. No one would ever let their son go to prison if they had the power to stop it. But just like every hoax, whether it's Russia or Smollett going out for a footlong at 2 a.m. January in Chicago, the media fell for it. They said Joe had principles.
A presidential promise to put the law before a family.
Our current president of the United States has so much respect for the law that he has said he would not pardon his son. I mean, what, again, it's all about the contrast.
He is not pardoning his son, which he could do. He is not doing it because he is living what it means to have a rule of law in this country. Yeah. And it isn't, I mean, if you want to know if he believes it, you could actually see what is happening with his own son.
Yeah. This whole time, Biden was the lying dog-faced pony soldier. How the heck did the media get to a place where they assume any politician is telling the truth? Finally, the left is as sick as being lied to as we are. Now, we'd have a lot more respect for Biden if he had said, yeah, I'm going to pardon Hunter. He's my only son. But he acts like he has a monopoly on morality. At least Trump doesn't make promises he knows he's going to break. You might not agree with what he does, but when he says he's going to pardon Jan 6ers, he'll probably do it. Recess his cabinet, he'll probably do it. Fire the FBI director, he's done it once, he'll do it again. Joe Biden tells you he's George Washington, and then he acts like Benedict Arnold. And it breaks the Democrats' heart every time.
I just want Democrats to stop acting like they are on this moral high ground politically when they have shown us they're not, whether it's skipping the primary process when Biden stepped down and things like Biden pardoning his son. Stop acting like y'all the pure party and Republicans aren't.
Jeffrey Toobin, who knows a little something about dishonoring the office, says, quote, Biden's pardon for his son dishonors the office. Governor of Colorado, Democrat, says Biden put his family ahead of the country. And now Biden's legacy is in the crosshairs again.
This pardon is just deflating. Joe Biden just made clear his son Hunter is above the law.
Is a really bad look for him, and I think it's potentially a destructive thing for his party. People's opinions that the system is somehow stacked in favor of Democrats against Republicans. I think this looks like the nation's head Democrat using the system for his own benefit.
This pardon will tarnish Joe Biden's legacy. I mean, Joe Biden, let's be clear here, he lied to us for a long time.
The media is even having Democrats do the walk of shame for lying to their audience. Watch this.
In July of 2023, just after that plea deal fell through, this is what you said. I want to watch.
Do you think a pardon for his son would be a mistake?
Yes, and I don't think there's any chance that President Biden is going to do that, unlike his predecessor, who pardoned all of his friends and anyone who had any access to him.
What does that feel like, watching yourself back then, reassuring people that Biden was not going to issue a pardon for his son?
Yeah, and I think that if that plea agreement and that plea deal had gone through, there would be no pardon.
That was a satisfactory outcome.
It already fallen
that
through.
Only was. Sorry?
When you reacted, this was when the deal had fallen through.
Democrats have made liars out of the media, and look what happened. The Democrats are out of power, and the media is out of viewers. Democrat numbers guru Nate Silver is so angry, he's telling Democrats to not vote for any Democrat in 2028 who doesn't repudiate the pardon within 48 hours. But Eric Holder, Obama's wingman, says the pardon was warranted. Had his name been Joe Smith, it would have been a different story. He's right. If Hunter was Joe Smith, he'd be in prison for drug possession, sex trafficking, tax evasion, money laundering, foreign lobbying, and probably wire fraud. Joe Smith would have been in federal lockup sharing a cell with Mookie. Anyway, we were told that a president who pardons a family member is guilty of obstruction.
In the event the president pardons anyone in an investigation in which the president is a witness, a subject, or the target, those investigative files will all be turned over to the Congress. The Congress ought to know whether the president is using the pardon power to obstruct justice. The American people have a right to know. I think it is clearly constitutional. It doesn't prohibit him from granting a pardon, even a pardon he shouldn't grant. But it does say that we will be able to at least find out whether the president is using this power to shield himself from liability.
Joe Biden, by pardoning Hunter, was kind of pardoning himself. But the media doesn't think Joe went far enough. They want a pocket pardon.
I hope that President Biden will also issue preemptive pardons to all of those people threatened by the injustice of what will become the Department of Justice in the Trump administration. That, of course, includes Jack Smith and all of his staff, many Department of Justice lawyers. It includes President Biden himself, although we don't know that anyone can legally pardon themselves. He will need a pardon because he is going to be harassed and charged for no crimes whatsoever.
Why would Joe need blanket pardons for himself and his son if he didn't do anything wrong? If he didn't want Hunter to do prison time, he could have just commuted his sentences and said he dished out blanket immunity, absolving Hunter of all past and future sins. The pardon dates back all the way to 2014. Now, what happened in 2014? That's when Hunter joined Burisma, and that's when Joe was handed the Ukraine portfolio. In a way, Trump was impeached for wanting to look into what Joe pardoned Hunter for. And this pardon covers the Ukraine money, the Russia money, the China money, and the diamonds, the paintings, and all those back taxes. Got to hand it to the big guy. He tied this operation up with a perfect bow. He had his son fly all over the world in his jet, selling access to his dad, hoovering up all the foreign cash all over the world, not paying any taxes on it, setting up shady shell companies to hide the money from the IRS, and then paying for the Biden family lifestyle, because none of the Biden family members could make a clean living on their own. Then he got caught before an election. The FBI and the CIA covered it up. His son was found guilty, pardons him. So the family gets to keep the cash, and Hunter doesn't have to pay a price. If you're running a criminal enterprise, it's brilliant. Joe really pulled it off. But he didn't do it without a lot of help. We believe Hunter Biden was an intelligence operation, whether he even knew it or not. He was going all over the world selling access to his dad, right under the nose of our intel agencies, who had a clear view of who was dirty and who was being blackmailed. Notice everyone around Hunter Biden's either in prison, awaiting sentencing, fled the country, or just disappeared. Everyone Hunter was talking to was on FBI wiretap. And every time someone sniffed around the Biden family, they got blocked. The IRS whistleblowers started looking into the big guy, blocked. FBI informants, ignored. The Secret Service cleaned up all his messes. The DOJ tried to give him a sweetheart deal just before a judge smoked it out. And when Congress wanted to talk to the sugar brother, the guy who paid millions out of pocket to cover Hunter's taxes, the CIA told investigators, stand down. The sugar brother was untouchable. This pardon is the deep state's screw you before Trump returns. Catch me if you can.
And welcome to Hannity. And tonight, we begin with an important and virtuous message from the Democratic Party. Take a look.
This nation was founded on the principle that there are no kings in America. Each of us is equal before the law. No one is above the law.
The fact is, no one is above the law.
In this country, no one is above the law.
The American principle that no one is above the law was reaffirmed.
Make no mistake, no one, not even the President of the United States, is above the law.
In my administration, no one is above the law.
Never mind. Kidding as usual. Now, the Democrats you saw there, they're just flat out lying. In fact, there are people who are very clearly above the law, the ones that are lecturing all of you about the rule of law. You know, and by the way, they are called the Biden family, or as we affectionately refer to them on this program as simply the Syndicate. Early today, in a move that surprised no one who watches this channel, President Biden did issue a full unconditional pardon to his beloved son, Hunter, only months after vowing over and over again that he would never pardon Hunter because of his deep, unwavering commitment to justice and the rule of law, you might recall.
Will you accept the jury's outcome, their verdict, no matter what it is?
Yes.
And have you ruled out a pardon for your son?
Yes.
You have.
Does the president have any intention of pardoning him?
We've been asked that question multiple times. Our answer stands, which is no.
Is there any possibility that the president would end up pardoning his son?
No.
Well,
I just said no.
And I am satisfied that I'm not going to do anything. I said I abide by the jury decision, and I will do that, and I will not pardon him.
I could speak for the president, and he said he would not pardon his son, and I'm just going to leave it there.
You didn't take that seriously, did you? That was before the election. And like always, Biden, the entire White House, they were lying to the American people. According to NBC News, they knew that Biden was planning a possible pardon, but decided to tell the American people the exact opposite of what he was thinking. In a nutshell, is the Biden doctrine. They just plain out, blatantly lie about everything. Remember, the border is closed. The border is secure. Biden is he's running circles around his staff. He's got so much energy. He's cognitively as sharp as he's ever been. Inflation is transitory. Trump, a threat to democracy, and that he sponsored Project 2025 and wanted to ban abortion nationwide and would sign that as president and limit access to contraception and stop IVF treatments for women. They said crime was down, lie. Inflation was down, lie. The withdrawal from Afghanistan went really, really well, if you believe them. Never mind what lies Kamala told. Whoa, would she have ever really closed the border? I doubt it. Would she give taxpayer-funded sex change operations to illegals as she once said she would? Probably. Gender-affirming care without parental consent? Likely. Ban fracking and drilling, which she said often? I'd bet yes. Pack the U.S. Supreme Court, eliminate the filibuster as she had promised, make D.C., Puerto Rico a state, continue the weaponization of justice. Well, we've all been subjected to one insane lie after another that only a handful of remaining MSDNC, fake news CNN viewers could or would believe. So it is not a shocker that Joe Biden lied about a pardon for Hunter. And keep in mind, this wasn't just a pardon for the felonies that Hunter was already convicted of. No, this was a sweeping pardon that covers any and all federal crimes Hunter committed or may have committed. The dates are important. January 1st, 2014, and yesterday, December 1st, 2024. In other words, Hunter Biden, will face no consequences for any actions over the past 11 years. Now, that oddly specific timeline, how conveniently happens to coincide with the very same year that Hunter started raking in millions of dollars from Ukraine. Remember, he was on the border with Burisma, no experience in energy, oil, gas, Ukraine, was getting paid millions. But according to Joe, I never once spoke to my son, my brother, or anybody for that matter, about their foreign business deals, in spite of what looks like evidence to the contrary, pictures. I guess he just, pulled 2014 out of a hat. That was a random year, just like he randomly pressured Ukraine. Remember, he bragged about it, about withholding billions in aid until they agreed to fire the prosecutor investigating his zero-experience son being paid millions and Burisma? Or the more likely scenario, if that was the real quid pro quo with Ukraine, Joe Biden was just lying through his teeth as always. Think about this. 2014, that start date also happens to cover Hunter's sweetheart deal with, the Bank of China. Another deal with a state-run Chinese energy company, CEFC. Remember the WhatsApp message? I'm sitting here next to my dad. Remember that part? And more sketchy deals, with oligarchs from Kazakhstan, a generous $3.5 million wire transfer from the former First Lady of Moscow, Elena Baturina. Remember her? As documented by the joint report from the Senate Finance and Homeland Security Committees. The pardon also covering allegations of tax evasion, money laundering, FARA violations, and even federal bribery, corruption charges. That surrounded, 10% for the big guy, or half my money goes to Pops. But can the big guy sleep easy tonight? That's a legal question. Is the Biden family syndicate officially in the clear? What about all the money Hunter says he gave to Pops? Half my income goes to Pops. It was on the laptop from hell. Did other monies that he took in go to his brother? Maybe wives involved, maybe ex-wives involved. What about the children? Did any money go to them? If so, will Joe pardon all of them? Will Joe Biden in the end pardon himself? As Politico put it, this 11-year pardon is quite possibly the most generous, extensive pardon in decades. Now some Democratic voters appear shocked and angry that Biden is, in fact, not a man of his word. On X, Nate Silver called Biden a, quote, selfish and senile old man who destroyed the Democratic Party. Nate, why didn't you say all that ahead of time, before the election? While that may be true, well, here is another hard truth for my friends on the left. The legacy media, so-called journalists that they respect and adore are brainless, spineless, and nothing but shills for the Democratic Party. And the polling, by the way, that people like Nate Silver use from them kind of sucked also. They don't investigate big stories. They don't look for the truth. Instead, just look at the latest Democratic talking point, repeat that, regurgitate that, wash, rinse, repeat. That's their formula. And that's why Americans rejected them as well in November. Now, here, for example, is a sample of how they covered Biden's promise that he would never, ever pardon Hunter. Take a look.
A major commitment from the president, accepting the outcome of the trial and also pledging not to pardon his son.
Just to be clear, the president has ruled out pardoning his son for those.
I'll bet you $1.
Well, okay.
And this week, of course, Hunter Biden was found guilty, and Joe Biden has very clearly said he would not pardon his son, he would not commute his sentence.
Current president of the United States has so much respect for the law that he has said he would not pardon his son.
He is not pardoning his son, which he could do. These are federal charges.
Right.
He is not doing that. That is a power. He has a power for both of those. He is not doing it because he is living what it means to have a rule of law in this country.
You think you'll ever trust the legacy media again, these channels? But just, they just took Biden at his word and regurgitated it. Why would anyone in their right mind take Biden at his word? We on this channel, on this show, we tell you the truth. We've been right about Richard Jewell going back to the beginning. We were right about UVA. We were right about Duke Lacrosse. We were right about Freddie Gray in Baltimore. We were right about Ferguson, Missouri. We were right about Obama's radicalism. We were right about vetting Kamala Harris, which they wouldn't do. We were right about Russia collusion. We were right also about FISA abuse. And I can keep going on. And they're always wrong. They peddle lies and conspiracy theories for a living. Joe, a habitual liar, serial plagiarizer since the 1970s. And for the legacy media, it was all a means to the end. Support the Democratic Party, do it at all costs. Thankfully, they no longer have influence over free-thinking Americans that have, in the beginning, they sought out talk radio. They sought out Fox News. Now they still trust talk radio, Fox News, and they have social media. As Elon Musk said, we're all now in the media business. And you can post things on your own and pass on information to your friends. The Kamala files that I tried to deputize people with. The Democratic Party will soon lose control of the Senate, the House, the White House. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.